Welcome back to the Sad Boy Cinema Club podcast. My name is Austin. His name is AJ. Join us as we try to find purpose and hope in America's true pastime, watching some good old-fashioned movies. You see the thumbnail, you see the title of this video. We're talking about Killer Klowns from Outer Space, released in 1988, directed by Stephen Chiodo, written by Charles and Stephen Chiodo, starring Grant Kramer, Susanna Snyder, and John Allen Nelson. AJ, how are you doing?
I can't complain. I'm happy to be off work.
Now, have you seen this movie prior to this watch?
Not only have I seen it, my kids have seen it, and it's one of my youngest daughter's favorite movies.
It's pretty safe to say then that you are a grizzled vet heading into this watch party then.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely the grizzled vet watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay, because I had never seen it prior to me selecting it. I just saw it on YouTube, free with ads, by the way. And I had remembered that you told me that you had seen it at least once. So I figured we should throw it in the rotation. And I haven't seen this other movie that I'm getting ready to compare it to in more than 20 years. But my expectation going into this movie was that it was going to be Spaceballs, which after the fact, that just tells me that I need to watch Spaceballs again before number 2 comes out. Because boy, oh boy, are they two very different movies.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching it on Amazon, and the commercials are too freaking long on Amazon. No, and it's funny because after Killer Clowns went off, Spaceballs came on. So I think, the algorithm agrees with you. They are similar.
I had watched Spaceballs when I was 7 years old at a sleepover, and I was like in and out of sleep. So I don't really remember Spaceballs, but in my head, I associated both of them together. And we'll get into it. Why I don't think that I should do that anymore. I definitely need to rewatch Spaceballs and how different these two movies are. But if you're ready to jump into this movie, I am.
Hell yeah, let's get to it.
So we start outside of this Goodwill, and a police officer is following a bunch of teenagers, and he makes it very clear that he does not like teenagers. If I could borrow a phrase, teenagers scared the living shit out of him. And this is Officer Mooney. He is the very prototypical curmudgeon, I'm too old for this shit kind of police officer in this podunk town. He's on patrol tonight, and he knows that the night is just getting started, so that was really setting the table for us and what we could really expect. We then see this ice cream truck go all the way up to what I referred to as Makeout Point, which is not very far from what it's actually like supposed to be. And they try to sell all of their ice cream to some of the people that are up there, and it's revealed that they have two ladies in the back of their ice cream truck, which they were hoping to, execute on the Makeout Mountain, but they ended up just getting free ice cream and assured the boys that they are not that easy, so they head back down where they came from, I guess. We're still up on Makeout Point, and we meet our two main characters, Mike and Debbie. They're romantically looking up into the stars, and then all of a sudden they see this comet whiz by their head. After some convincing, after, hey, we should go check this out, they agree to go find where the comet landed because they think it's just down the road. One of the elders of the town is also looking up into the sky, and he sees the comet, and he has the same idea. They go out into this like wooded area, and instead of finding a comet, they find a circus tent. I don't know what I would have expected here. Just, the first time watching this movie. A circus tent makes sense, though. When you can subvert expectations this early into the film, it's probably always a good sign.
I can't believe you jumped into this movie and the first thing you talk about is Officer Mooney and his cranky old ass and not that banger of a song. Like, the Dickies put their whole foot in that song, and I was reading, they still perform that at their shows, and it's like one of their more famously known songs. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't know who the Dickies are, but shout out for that song, because that song is an absolute banger.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the song was okay, but
Oh,
I don't,
get out of here.
I don't think that I would be searching out for the Dickies and trying to find where they're touring next.
That's not on your playlist, because I can tell you it's on my Spotify playlist.
This should be probably pretty clear to the audience now that we're 3 or 4 or 5 episodes in. We look for things in movies very differently. I look for more of a musical score than a soundtrack. So while I was aware that the song was playing, I wasn't necessarily going, "Ooh, got to write this one down. Got to put this one on the Spotify playlist."
That's where you're wrong.
As the old farmer is looking around He's trying to find the daggone ticket booth to get a ticket into the circus here, and unfortunately, his good old dog gets kidnapped by this silhouetted clown inside the tent. He vows to get revenge on whoever took his dog, gets electrocuted by grabbing one of the outside tent poles. I'm assuming that has a billion volts worth of voltage going through it. And then we get our first look at the clown, who then promptly vaporizes him. I do want to shout out the costume department. Again, remember, this movie was released in 1988. It's not like they had the capability to do a CGI clown, like a very, in my head, if you were to do it today, the clown would probably look something like Alien. The clown would look something like a monster like that. But these are very practical effects, practical costume designs, and effective as well, because I don't necessarily have a clown phobia, but I would say that they were menacing for sure.
Yeah, I think that the fact that this was made before CGI, chef's kiss, because I think sometimes directors fall back on CGI too often and forget the kind of practical effects of it. But the set design, the just overall vibe of the whole movie was just that it all fit cohesively together.
Yeah, I think so too. Unfortunately, I'm going to be pretty critical of Officer Mooney, mostly because I think he's an ass. Because our next scene here, after the farmer gets vaporized by the clown, we're at the police station, and the cop from earlier brings in two local thugs, and then and then promptly displays police brutality. And I guess some things just never change at all. It's going to be a really hard sell throughout the rest of this movie. This is my thought process as I was watching. This is going to be a really hard sell throughout the rest of this movie to make me like this character, because you're already a curmudgeon. The first like vocalized line in this movie, you're already like, teenagers, kids, what are we doing? And now just straight up police brutality, not a good look for me as a viewing audience. But I digress. Our two lovebirds, Mike and Debbie, are on the lookout for the comet, and they eventually find the same circus tent. They manage to get inside and start doing some exploring, eventually finding a lab where it seems like they're growing more clowns in this cotton candy like substance. And I gotta be honest, at this point, even if I knew the dire situation, even if I didn't know the dire situation, I feel as if I would have tried the cotton candy as well. That's a big old thing of cotton candy, and obviously, like, that's not like a normal dietary thing. But I do like some cotton candy.
Yeah, I do love some cotton candy as well. But with this beard, it definitely gets in it all the time. I mean, I get any food in my beard all the time now, but cotton candy, I feel like would just look like I walked through a spider's nest. You're saying your go-to cotton candy in terms of this universe would have been human flavored cotton candy cocoons?
We'll see. Had I known that there was a human inside of it, I would say obviously no. But when we walk in and see what's going on, it's just a big old thing of cotton candy. I wouldn't know that it's human flavored until I probably
So
took a few bites and looked down to see
so
where
you
it
got to the
was.
middle. It's like the old Tootsie Roll. How many licks to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? Like, oh my
Yeah,
God, there's a human in here.
as they're kind of exploring this lab with all of the cotton candy, they do eventually find that it's a human inside the cotton candy. Another clown comes in there, sees them snooping around, and starts to chase them, but they manage to get away ever so slightly. The clowns aren't content with them escaping, though, because they're on their way to Crescent Cove, which is apparently a 5 mile walk, which I felt like, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought that this was going to be like the Walking Dead zombies, where they just take forever to get there. Like, I figured there was going to be more plot that happens in the next 20 minutes, more world building. These guys, and we're going to get more into the world building aspect here. These clowns are fast because they made it to Crescent Cove in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, and I loved the whole like when the clown made the balloon dog to pretend like he was a police dog and they were chasing after it. I loved the campiness of that scene.
Yeah, so far through, I don't know what, 12 minutes of runtime, have no complaints here. Mike and Debbie are making their way to the police station, and they're trying to explain to Officer Dave something is amok. That there is this circus tent out in the middle of nowhere. There's a bunch of clowns. Someone needs to go investigate it. Officer Mooney hears this and he shares his disdain of the entire notion, which again is a real hard sell. I really do not like this motherfucker. Dave agrees to go investigate the situation with Mike and Debbie, but Mooney does not approve, even in the slightest bit. So then our next scene, we see this random teenager doesn't get a name, doesn't get any lines as far as I'm aware, not real lines anyway. Probably sound effects would be the best way to characterize it. But he walks up to this gazebo in town where he is treated to a puppet show, and then is also quickly vaporized, much like before, by some clowns. I have to ask, because looking at this kid, he's 16, 18, maybe even 19 at the oldest. Would you have been tricked? Would you have been entertained by a puppet show at that point, or would you needed to have been 7 for that to work?
So I think being young would definitely help. Or if you were under the influence of something, maybe would help lubricate your brain to enjoy said rudimentary puppet show. But yeah, no, I thought the same thing. And they also made him look super dumb. Like his face was just like one of those faces where you're just like, God, this guy's a freaking idiot.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel any sympathy for him because I feel like the way that they've set this movie up is that there's nothing that ever happens in this town. So if you got a random puppet show, I feel like some red flags should be popping off in your brain. But he has the survival instincts of a squirrel and promptly gets killed for it. So you get what you get, I guess. The clowns have started to run amok in the town now because they're taking over a local drugstore, which is unfortunate because how else are people supposed to get their drugs if all the clowns have it? We're now in the back of a police car, and it turns out that Officer Dave and Debbie used to be an item, and he still has feelings for her. So now Mike is third wheeling in his own relationship.
Riding in the back of the cop car too.
Which brings up some really unfortunate questions. How old is Dave? Because we're assuming that these are high school children that we're looking at. So David, do you have some explaining to do? Do you need to be thrown in jail?
Yeah, so it'd be real weird though. I think it would be super, super weird if it was Officer Mooney instead of Officer Dave that was her love interest or ex love interest. Cause then that would just be very, very different vibe to the whole movie. Be like, I don't know, you're probably on like the Epstein list, Officer Mooney. But I love how also too how quickly the whole town is just it's like one after the other, just incident after incident in the town, and you just see different kills from these clowns.
Yeah, because they're now door to door salesmen. They're walking right up to the residential areas and getting these victims and vaporizing them and cocooning them to all the townspeople, which has to be pretty problematic, right? You're assuming that you're going to get a lot of 911 calls. Hopefully somebody does something about that. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. Dave takes Debbie back to her house because he thinks that it's not safe to go investigate this. Him and Mike are going to go handle it. When they get to the circus tent, or where they thought the circus tent was, it is now gone. And Dave arrests Mike, or detains him, I guess, at the very least, for making him go on a wild goose chase. Hey, man, that's not cool. Of all the things that you could have possibly lied about, why would you lie about a circus tent and clowns being in the middle of the woods?
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge lie to be like, hey, listen, I know this sounds crazy, but there is a giant circus tent, and there are clowns from God knows where. They're big, they're tall, they're ugly, they're menacing, and they're making cotton candy out of something. Later, I found out it was humans, so word to the wise, if you see a big thing of cotton candy hanging up like a dry cleaning pickup order, don't eat it.
There's a lot of believability that has to go into movies like this. You could lie about anything. Hey, man, there's a robbery going on at the drugstore. And then you go to the drugstore and there's nothing going on. Yeah, buddy, that's falsifying information. That's a false police report. You're going to have to come with me. Hey, man, there's these clowns that are making people out of cotton candy or whatever the case is. Yeah, buddy, okay. I could come up with a billion better lies than that. Like,
Yeah, I feel like if the cop really thought he was lying about it, that's kind of on him if he fell for that lie at that point. Like, Officer Dave, you're supposed to be this hotshot rookie cop, so come on now.
yeah, not Barney Fife. And just so the audience knows here, if you haven't seen the movie before, even if you have, at least throughout the rest of this entire movie, we are going to have scenes back and forth between the townspeople, that are getting vaporized and terrorized by these clowns and our main crew. I won't keep going back and forth with it, but I do need to make one last pitch here. A clown literally knocks a guy's head off with a
That's
punch.
one of my favorite scenes.
There was like 20 people that witnessed this whole thing. So I feel, because we're gonna get to a portion of the movie that really makes me mad. If you had that many people witness a literal murder where somebody literally got his block knocked off, I feel as if there's a certain level of maturity and realization that needs to come with this, because I mean, we've seen it throughout all of this now. Out of a town of what, probably 500-600, half of the town has been terrorized now. So like this is a mass deal. This is like DEFCON 5. That we're in it now. So I again, I won't keep going back and forth. It does keep happening throughout the movie, but yeah, I also agree. The scene where I think his name is Jumbo. I think it's supposed to be like a joke because it's a very short clown. He just punches a guy's head right off. I thought that was pretty good, and again, the practical effects pretty good.
Jumbo is definitely fighting out of his weight class, especially because like they picked the guy. He kind of reminded me of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I know that's not who it was, but if in my mind that's what Hacksaw Jim Duggan would look like if he was a biker in this tiny coastal beach town. But yeah, no, the him knocking his block off after breaking Jumbo's bike. I mean, that's warranted. This has got to be. I'm not sure if Crystal Cove is a stand your ground state, but I mean, maybe it is. Maybe Jumbo was like, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm well within my rights here. Got that castle doctrine."
Shout out to the killer clowns from outer space that knows jurisdiction law. Love that. Dave and Mike roll up on some abandoned cars that are covered in this cotton candy like substance that Mike was telling Dave about. He believes that the people who were up here earlier with him and Debbie have now been got by the clowns, because I mean, the cars are abandoned. Some of them are still running in some cases. Some glasses have been left in line. We believe that they are dead, which is unfortunate, obviously. Meanwhile, back at the police station, there are now calls coming in from all over the town saying the clowns are showing up to their doors, but Officer Mooney just thinks it's some big prank. He's also drinking on the job, so fuck this guy. Like, how hard could it possibly be to be a cop in this small ass town?
There are multiple jail cells, and we only ever see Officer Dave and Officer Mooney in this movie. So, I mean, if you're just going off what you know for sure, there are only two cops in this whole town. I don't know why they would need that big of a jail. But I liked when all the phones were ringing and he was sitting there drinking and chewing on a cigar and smoking it. And he was like, "I made it through Korea. I'll make it through this." So that might be why he's a pain in the ass, is the fact that he fought in a pointless war.
So Dave and Mike are finally back in town, and they see a clown kill in the act, which, again, admittedly, pretty cool with the whole puppet show, or not the puppet show, the I guess it is a puppet show, a hand puppet, a hand
Yeah,
silhouette. I don't know what those are called. Actually, now that I'm saying this out loud for the first time, what is that?
I would call it a puppet show, or like a shadow puppet, maybe.
Shadow puppet, yeah, shadow puppet show, which is admittedly pretty cool because he turns it into a dinosaur and then he eats all the people, which is pretty cool. I can't lie. The ability to creatively kill somebody after you've seen it 10 times already, pretty stellar in my opinion. Dave attempts to run the clown over, but this clown, world building here, really interesting. The clown has the Superman gene, meaning that he can jump over tall buildings in a single bound, which again is really impressive. Dave tries to call Mooney for backup, but he still thinks that this whole clown thing is a big hoax, which again, fuck this guy.
Yeah, at that point too, you hear him think that Mike's friends, the Pizzini brothers, that have the ice cream truck, he thinks it's all an elaborate scheme that the whole city or the whole town's involved in, trying to get them to sell more ice cream. And it's like, it can't be a scam if the whole town's in on it.
Mike runs into the ice cream guys that we were just alluding to before, and he convinces them to take him to Debbie's house. Meanwhile, at Debbie's house, though, we see some disturbing things happening, and I'm going to need you to explain the science behind it to me. She's getting ready to take a shower, and as she's undressing, we see popcorn on the floor. But this popcorn is sentient? Question mark? What's the
Yeah,
deal behind the popcorn?
no, so yeah, it's just a sentient popcorn that can evolve into like mini clowns that can just attack. So yeah, there's. I think you. I don't think you got to look too hard into the science of it. I think you just got to be like, oh shit, that's cool.
No, I need things to make sense in my movies. If we're gonna go in this world, I need to know.
I need to know the science behind this. I need to replicate the popcorn gun.
So just so we're like on the same page, cotton candy makes the big clowns.
Hmm.
Popcorn makes the little clowns.
Yes,
So Jumbo's made of popcorn.
yes, yes. He's a
Okay.
success story.
Well, as long as the science checks out on it, I guess we're fine. Uh,
I just thought that was some lady that was taking a shower. I never put that it was Debbie taking a shower.
yeah. What else are you supposed to do when killer clowns are on the loose? You take a shower, get your mind off things.
Yeah, you gotta take the edge off.
Mike runs into the Zini brothers and convinces them to go to Debbie's. We're now again with Mooney in this police station, and he's visited by a clown at said police station, and he finally gets what he deserves. And I cannot possibly be happier that this entire situation happens. But before he does, he manages to violate the clown's Fifth Amendment rights by not reading them the Miranda rights. He literally says, "You have no rights here." He doesn't know they're from outer space. For all he knows,
Yeah, he
they're U.S. citizens that are just in clown makeup.
yeah, he's like, there are no rules in Mooney's jail, and yeah, no, he definitely would be on one of those cop watch lists for sure.
Yeah, and so again, I've made it pretty clear that I have a pretty big disdain for Officer Mooney because he's not likable. And I'm going to get into it a little later. I'm just going to save it for then. After Mooney gets his just desserts, Dave heads back to the police station, but all the lights are cut off. He sees these comically large clown footprints all over the police station that are leading to the jail cells, but all he sees are a couple of cotton candy cocoons. He heads back out to like his desk, the office area, the foyer. I don't know what this area of this small ass police station is actually called, but he finds a clown using Mooney as a real life ventriloquist dummy, and then Dave attempts to kill the clown by shooting a revolver at his nose, and then we see this clown turn into like this big green cyclone. I guess is the best way to put it. He just disappears after turning into a green tornado.
Yeah, that's how you kill him. You shoot him in the nose.
It is interesting to see the clown's powers evolve throughout this movie. Again, that's probably one of my favorite things is like this world building aspect. They're super fast. They have the ability to shapeshift. Apparently, they can jump over buildings in a single bound. Like, shout out to the directing team and the writers of this movie because I really do think that you've knocked it out of the park with this one. Mike and the ice cream guys are on the way to Debbie's house and they run into like a full parade of these clowns ransacking the town. Back at Debbie's, though, she is attacked by what I can only describe as the clown fetuses, which we have now established are the popcorn clown baby fetus things. She
Yeah,
does
don't think
manage.
about it. Just go with it.
Just don't think about it. The movie's going to be better. Just go. She does manage to escape the bathroom and then hears Mike outside the door. Great. Her hero, right? She opens the door and it's a clown. The clowns now have the ability to mimic voice a real life skinwalker in the flesh. The clowns do eventually corner her, and instead of trapping her in a cocoon, she's trapped in a balloon. Not sure why, seeing how everybody else was in a cocoon. Seems a little outside of your MO, but
Because she was hot, they didn't want to turn her into a cocoon and make her a clown. Obviously, they wanted to take her back to their ship and have her be their wife.
if the insane clown posse is anything to go off of, I think that we can safely assume what kind of shenanigans they're going to get into with this whole balloon thing. Mike and Dave meet up again, and they're finally attempting to follow these clowns, and they make their way to like this amusement park on a pier. So a security guard at this amusement park on the pier, who I'm sure is a couple months away from retiring, tries to stop these clowns from entering, but quickly gets turned into mush with a cherry on top. Again, more powers being displayed. Shout out to the writing team. The clowns make their way into the funhouse shortly after Mike and Dave make their way into the funhouse, and then quickly lose the Tazzini brothers in a ball pit staring at two clowns. Mike and Dave find this lair with what seems like 1,000 cotton candy cocoons inside of this funhouse, and they're interrupted by the grand poobah of the clown world. Seems like the head honcho. here in the situation because he looks different than the rest of the character designs. And again, shout out to the costume designers. That's a good way to not verbally say that this is a bigger deal than the regular clowns, but still effectively tell the story that hey, you guys need to go. You have been had.
Yeah, I imagine, we saw the little circus tent. I imagine that's kind of like an expeditionary force, and I imagine the big one where this the boss clown is. I imagine that's like the mothership. That's why there's all the cotton candy cocoons. That's why the bigger clown's in there. It all makes sense.
We see this Grand Poobah clown very funnily put a silly straw into one of the cotton candy cocoons and then just drink the juice, which I can only assume is blood, right? What else could that possibly be? That bright fruit punch red ass liquid. Like,
It's Fago.
yeah, yeah, it's Fago. They're turning everybody in the town into Fago. That's
This
a
is
pretty good business plan.
this is how juggalos are made. Actually, I don't think they're making clowns. I think they're making juggalos.
They're making juggalos, and in 5 years, we're going to see the ICP just pop out of it.
Whoop whoop.
After the clown leaves, they see that Debbie is also in this room, again, in that big balloon, and they successfully break her out of that room. They manage to escape the main room, but then are chased all around this funhouse by a bunch of the clowns. The heroes are eventually cornered in the funhouse and nearly die because there are, very comically, 300 doors blocking their exit. When you're in the heat of the moment, and I usually don't like for my tense scenes, my anxiety, my stress-inducing scenes to be broken up with comedy like that, but it got a good chuckle out of me when you open the door and then there's another door and then you open that door and there's a smaller door and then you open that. Like, that was a really funny bit out of there. Like, it took me out of the moment for a second, but I appreciated the comedic effect there.
Yeah, it's definitely good comedic timing. I feel like that's a common theme in this whole movie is just they've got that timing down right.
Absolute home stretch. Now, our group of heroes, our trio, is again cornered by the clowns and are nearly doomed. But the Dazzini brothers break through the funhouse with their ice cream truck to save the day. How? How did they escape the two clowns staring them in the face earlier? Don't know. It's never explained. One of those things that I'm just going to have to not think about, I guess. But their effort will not be forgotten because they seem to sacrifice themselves for our trio after a Godzilla clown descends from the heavens and wreaks havoc on the rest of like this pier, I guess, in like this little area that they're fighting in. Again, Keto Brothers are watching this movie. I'd love to interview because I need to know how you went from Killer Clowns in Outer Space to the Grand Poobah of the clowns, and then to have a clown kaiju. I gotta know, man. That's good stuff.
They definitely, again, we're going to sound like a broken record, but they do a phenomenal job when it comes to world building here.
David does manage to get a couple more rounds off against the Godzilla clown, but he grabs him. We think it's over for Dave, right? Not our Dave. Not that big brain Dave over here. While the circus tent is transforming into a spaceship, presumably back to their home planet, even though we don't know exactly where this is, Dave pokes the clown's nose with his sheriff's badge pin, and then we see that familiar green cyclone effect. And then Achilles the clown manages to save the day. Turns out their noses are their weakness. It wasn't just because when I saw it the first time in the police station, what I thought was this was like a smoke bomb, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affect you, get me out of here. Honestly, I kind of thought it was like a lizard where they can detach their tail if they're attacked by something and they can just get up out of there. Yeah, it's like well, I don't know what powers they do and don't have. Maybe they can regenerate their noses. I don't know, but it does. That seems like to be the kill switch is the clown's noses, which is great that Dave was able to have that big brain and remember that fact. Turns out the noses are their weakness. Great for Dave. Good big brain Dave to remember that fact. Just when we think that Dave is dead, after this huge explosion that we see from this tent that's turning into this mothership, we see a clown car fall from the sky and all the wreckers to deliver him back to Mike and Debbie, along with more of the police force, which are coming in to see all the ruckus, I guess, and the Tazzini brothers, who have again managed to escape death, which has to be a miracle at this point. Again, I need to know what's going on with them. I don't know how you, survived not getting mauled by clowns throughout the entire movie, even though everybody else did. How you were staring two clowns right in the face and then didn't die. And then you were in the explosion and still didn't die. Maybe, perchance, maybe the Tazzini brothers are immortal.
Like, you know how, like, Superman, I don't know shit about superheroes, actually. I was gonna say, like,
I'm gonna
the
make I'm gonna make an analogy about superheroes, and I've seen two movies, so I think I got to cover.
I don't know shit. No, so, like, it's kind of like, trying to think what movie it would be. I don't know. Where there are sworn enemies and they, have to escape, but they ultimately end up finding each other. Is there a movie like that?
I mean, I'm sure there is. Yeah,
I promise I
surely you
watch
didn't.
movies.
Surely you just didn't come up with that on the spot.
It's my Rain Man technique.
As confetti falls from the sky, our trio of heroes asks, "Is it over?" Only to be hit with falling cake from the sky, and then we fade to black and the credits roll. So now that you've seen this movie for the 100th time, did you get anything new out of this experience? Did it mold the way that you view the movie at all? Did it add to it? Did it take away from it? Give me your overall thoughts on the movie.
I fucking love the movie. I've always loved the movie. I'm always going to love the movie. I'm never going to stop loving that movie. Today, when we were talking about it, I didn't realize that was Debbie getting in the shower. I just thought that was like some eye candy for like to break up the action. So yeah, so that's what I took away from this film.
What do you say about old dogs and new tricks and new facts and all those things?
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. It's truth.
So with this being my first viewing experience of the movie, honestly, I thought it was much better than what I had anticipated. I thought the world building that we've mentioned multiple times throughout this review was fantastic. I thought that this was a great original idea. I thought that the musical score was actually really good, solid all the way through.
I'm just happy to hear you say that first opening song was a banger. We've got it recorded, so I will always pull that up now. The world building again, to piggyback off what you said, it's great. It was an original story. I feel like when it came out in the 80s, I feel like while it was original, there are other movies that came out around that time, like Chud and Critters and Gremlins and things like that. So I think they borrowed from many different movies to make this, but it was wholly original.
Well, I think at the time it was very much viewed as a success because the budget was $1.8 million and it made almost 44 million at the box office. But I feel as if, especially now where we live in a time where everything is a sequel and original ideas generally don't make it to the production bay, I feel as if this kind of movie, this movie in particular, has gained like this cult like following of like very devoted watchers because they do appreciate the original stories. And I gotta be honest, man, I'm kind of glad to be in that cult. Like, it's good. I would definitely watch this again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know if they're still able to put out merch. And there was a video game I think that came out not too long ago. If they're still able to put out merch from this movie that came out in the 80s, 1988, it's got staying power. Obviously, it hits with a lot of people, and that's crazy to think about that money, especially like 1988 dollars. Like, what is the conversion of that now? That's
It's like
a
six
shit
trillion
ton of money.
dollars now.
Yeah. So these guys probably didn't even have to make any more movies. They were just living on Easy Street.
I would ask you if you would watch it again, but seeing that how this is your 25th rewatch, the answer is obviously going to be yes. So I think I have a guess, but what was your favorite thing about the movie?
Honestly, it's probably the Tazzini brothers. I just love that they were these two nerdy, horny guys. Like that's the best way to describe them. They had a heart of pure gold, though. They just liked women.
Who
Um,
doesn't? Am I right?
right. I liked the practical effects. They did a great job in this movie. And I want to say it now. I fucking love Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Again, I've said it multiple times throughout the last 40 minutes. The world building is absolutely my favorite thing. It's so rare, especially now, especially movies that have come out in the last 15 years, where they don't over expound, where they don't explain literally almost everything about the movie inside the movie. I need to know where these clowns came from. I need to know how far their powers can go. I need to know if they're essentially vampires. Like, I need to know more about that. And the fact that I was able to have this many questions after a an hour and a half runtime, especially for I mean, this movie is almost 40 years old. If they're able to do that still, incredible stuff. The world building was fantastic, and I again definitely did not expect it to be this good.
I only recommend bangers, so
Yeah, you maybe watch Slacks, but yeah, mostly bangers, I guess. All right, so I am gonna make you nitpick on your movie a little bit. What is your least favorite thing from this movie?
why don't you go first, and then I will. Well, I think on it.
Well, my again, not a secret because I said it a lot. My least favorite thing in this movie is Officer Mooney. Fuck that guy. This and again, I don't know what it's like to create an original story. I don't know what it's like to shoot a movie. If I were running the show, though, I would have changed Mooney into this cop who was like so ready to serve, excited even. But then when when this craziness happens out of nowhere in this small podunk town, he realizes that he is a bit over his skis, that he's bit off more than he can chew. I would have made him more of a sympathetic character. That way, when he dies, I actually feel something more than excitement.
You didn't get a chuckle when he was turned into a hand puppet.
I mean, I would yes, but because of excitement, not like not one time throughout this movie. I was like, wow, I wish people were being nicer to Officer Mooney. Wow, that sucks that Officer Mooney died. Never one time. Because again, let me just very quickly run through his entire character arc. We see him be an ass just because a teenager is literally crossing the street. We see him commit police brutality to two guys who, as far as I'm aware, have not been convicted of a crime, but they are suspected of a crime, so they're just being detained and held in overnight cells. He's drinking on the job. He doesn't take anybody who calls 911 seriously, which is literally the entire point being a cop. And then again, it's very silly because of like the actual thing, but he violates somebody's Miranda rights. He violates their Fifth Amendment. So again, not one time throughout this entire movie did I think, wow, like this Mooney guy, what a character. I was glad that he got turned into a shish kebab. I'm glad he got turned into a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, I mean, but that made you feel that though. If you think about it, and that's what a good movie does: is it makes you feel things.
I don't think that I should be rooting for someone's death in the movie unless they're supposed to be the villain. And he was not depicted as the villain. He was just depicted as an ass.
For me, the thing that I would change, they kind of rushed through like the opening bit with the clowns, like when they're terrorizing the town. I know they give us lots of shots, but I just wanted more. I wanted more. What else could these clowns do in this town? Like, yeah, we saw them deliver the chocolates. We saw them do the puppet show. We saw them pretend like they were going to bash that little girl with a mallet. Uh, Also, did you get like, and I don't know, I'm sure we can look this up, when the clowns ring the doorbell and they got a pizza, and maybe it's just because my brain is warped, but I was immediately thinking like some adult situations were going to happen. Like, not that I want that to happen, but that's where my brain was going. Was okay. This is you know how they have parody movies for everything. Surely there has to be a Killer Clowns from Outer Space porno somewhere. I'm gonna look that up real quick while we continue this talk.
I did not think that. That wasn't something that my mind went to. What I associated it with when I saw it was the height of the 80s, probably a Friday night, maybe a weekend. What do you do in a small town? You get a pizza. And especially like our age demographic, where we do love pizzas. Both of us are big Little Caesars fans, and we watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we watched all these cartoons that depicted pizza in such a savory way. That's all I really associated with. And like, yeah, of course, it's a Friday night. They probably ordered pizza, and oops, a clown's delivering it instead of the pizza guy. That's what I thought.
And Google says there is not a Killer Clowns from Outer Space parody porno. So
I think you're just not looking hard enough.
that's
So,
$1 million idea somewhere. If anybody, Pornhub, you want to make a movie, rip this one.
all right, and then of course, the whole reason that we're here, I have to know what you rated it on Letterboxd before we start plugging all of our socials.
5-star, 5-star, 5-star. I like how I did that 10-star. It'd be a 10 too.
I can't say that I'm surprised that it was a 5-star movie for you. And again, I said a bunch of very glowing things in this movie. Officer Mooney did piss me off. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And I feel as if and maybe there is one. Maybe you can put me onto something. If there was a sequel that follows up on this and allowed for more of the character building, more of the world building, more of a like an origin story. If there was an origin story, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I could probably give that one a 10 or a 5 out of 10, 5. That's kind of the way that I was in. But because and again, this is even though like a 90-minute runtime is probably the sweet spot for a lot of movies, I wanted more out of it. If this was a 2 hour runtime, this would probably get a higher score from me. But in my book, 3.5 stars is a pretty good movie.
As far as I know, there's not a sequel or a prequel to this film. And upon further review, um, there is currently no official Killer Clowns from Outer Space 2, but there is a major project in development of April 2026. Reports indicate that Ryan Gosling is producing a remake or reboot of the 1988 cult classic for Amazon MGM Studios. So you could get what you're after. Again, I freaking love this movie. And honestly, I know you alluded to the fact that I watched this when I was 4. But I was thinking when I was watching it, I don't remember the first time I watched it. I think I watched it as an adult. Now, Callie, my youngest, she watched it probably the first time when she was 4, and she loves it. So I don't know what that says about my parenting style, but there it is.
Thank you. If you got this far, thank you for joining us and watching this movie with us potentially. If you have a suggestion for us, leave it in the comments below. Maybe we'll pick your movie and watch it on here and review it. Follow us on all socials, on TikTok and Twitter, and here on YouTube, obviously, at Sad Boys Cinema. Also, follow our individual Letterboxd accounts. I'll put our handles above our heads here. AJ, before we send us out of here, what is next week's movie?
It's going to be The Condemned 2, and you can watch it on Prime. I think it's on Plex. So yeah, there's a couple different options to where you can find The Condemned 2, starring Randy Kenneth Orton.
Oh, I didn't realize that this was a WWE production. Okay,
Yeah.
we are in here. All right, well, I'm excited now. I for whatever reason I thought that The Condemned was something else, not a Randy Orton production. I'm in.
Wait,
now.
have you never seen the first Condemned?
Nope. I thought The Condemned was something like The Departed. I thought it was one of those kind of movies.
Oh my god, we might need to watch the first Condemned.
What damage could really be done if I watched the second one before the first one?
What worlds weren't built? Sure, fuck it. We'll go for The Condemned 2. Because that's a common theme on my Letterboxd. I've got a whole bunch of like sequels and like the 6th movie in the series, but not any of the first ones. So.
Well, join us next week as we see the sequel instead of the original of The Condemned Part 2. Again, that's going to be on Amazon Prime and Plex and a couple other places. Join us next week. That's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for AJ. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. And we'll see you in the next one.